What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Primetime podcast. My name is Justin. For those of you who don't know what Ben Drowned is, first let me say, this is the condensed version. This is not the full version. If you're looking for all the details of every single time the game was played, you're going to want to either read the story for yourself, which is super long, or head over to YouTube and have someone read it for you. There's a couple people over there that will read it from start to finish, but you're looking at about an hour. And that's what I kind of wanted to stay away from on here. I wanted to keep it, the show a little shorter. And but you're gonna get the story here. You're just not gonna get every single detail. You're gonna get, the gist of the story. And for those of you who don't know the story, let me set the stage real quick. It's about a guy who is starting his sophomore year in college. And he gets a Nintendo 64 from his friend, and he comes across the Majora's Mask cartridge that looks a little shady, and it's not the Majora's Mask that we all love and remember. And basically, he goes on an online forum and shares his experience with the game and uploads video footage of his experience with the game. And some creepy things happen. But anyways, this creepypasta, don't freak out, because as far as we know, this is not true. It is a made-up story by Jadeusable. And but who knows? Maybe it does exist out there. Maybe you'll go to a yard sale one day and come across this Majora's Mask cartridge. I don't know. But anyways, before we get started, I want you guys to check out the great sponsor of Primetime 21st Gaming and the Primetime podcast, Catalyst Mints.
What's good, everybody? It's your homeboy T-Pain. Let's take a look at some cool stuff. Here we go. Boom! Catalyst Mints. You know what these are? Energy mints. Amazing. You didn't think I was going to say that, but they are. I'll tell you a little something about this. Vitamin B, packed with it. Caffeine, packed with it. You know what it's not packed with? Sugar. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. You don't want calories. There's no calories in this. It's amazing. It's for your long gaming sessions after that weird date at Taco Bell. You don't want that. You want to be energized. Pop a mint, breath is good, and your energy is up. You know what's even cooler? You can either buy it like this, one pack, or you can buy the whole case. You can play Pulp Fiction with it. You can do a lot of stuff with this. So if you feel like getting arrested in the airport, then buy the whole case. It's a briefcase full of pills. Take a choice. Put it in there like that, boom. Now you're on your way. Catalyst Mints is the energy mint. I'm gonna need you to come and take 6 of these. Pour them in your mouth. Just open up the
Okay, so this story is written by a guy that goes by the name of Jadeusable. He had just moved into his dorm room, starting his sophomore year of college. His friend gave him a Nintendo 64 with a controller and Super Smash Bros. And after playing it for a while, he got bored. So he decided to hit up local garage sales trying to score a deal. He got Pokemon Stadium, GoldenEye, F-Zero, and 2 controllers for like $2. Jadeusable writes, I began to drive out of the neighborhood when one last house caught my attention. I still have no idea why it did. There were no cars there, and only one table was set up with random junk on it. But something sort of drew me there. I usually trust my gut on these things, so I got out of the car and I was greeted by an old man. His outward appearance was, for lack of a better word, displeasing. It was odd. If you asked me to tell you why I thought he was displeasing, I really couldn't pinpoint anything. There was just something about him that put me on edge. I can't explain it. All I can tell you is that if it wasn't in the middle of the afternoon and there weren't other people within shouting distance, I would have never even thought of approaching this man. So Jadeusable asked the old man if he had any old video games. The old man hobbled off, and while he was waiting for the old man to come back, he looked at the items on the table that this old man was selling. Very creepy paintings. The old man returned with a Nintendo 64 cartridge. Jadeusable writes, he handed me a Nintendo 64 cartridge. It was a standard gray color, except that someone had written Majora on it with black permanent marker. I got butterflies in my stomach as I realized what a coincidence this was. I asked him how much he wanted for it. The old man smiled at me and told me that I could have it for free. That he used to belong to a kid who was my age and didn't live here anymore. There was something weird about how the man phrased that, but I didn't really pay any attention to then. I was too caught up in not only finding this game, but getting it for free. I reminded myself to be a bit skeptical since this looked like a pretty shady cartridge. There's no guarantee it would work. But then the optimist inside me interjected that maybe it was some kind of beta version or pirated version of the game, and that was all that I needed to be back on Cloud 9. I thanked the man, and the man smiled at me and wished me well, saying, "Goodbye then." All the way on the car ride home, I had a nagging doubt that the man had said something else. My fears were confirmed when I booted up the game. To my surprise, it worked just fine, and there was one save file, named simply Ben. Goodbye, Ben. He was saying goodbye, Ben. I felt bad for the man, obviously a grandparent and obviously going senile, and I for some reason or another reminded him of his grandson Ben. Jaduzible realized whoever Ben was had actually been pretty far in the game, and said it was a shame he had come so close to beating it, but never did. He created a new save file and named it Link out of tradition and began to relive his childhood. Jaduzible writes, "For such a shady-looking game cartridge, I was impressed at how smoothly it ran. Literally just like a retail copy of the game, but a few minor hiccups here and there, like textures being where they shouldn't be, random flashes of cutscenes at odd intervals, but nothing too bad. However, the only thing that was a little unnerving was that at times the NPC would call me Link, and at other times it would call me Ben. I figured it was just a bug or a fluke in the programming causing our files to get mixed up or something. It did kind of creep me out though after a while. And it was around after that I have beaten the Woodfall Temple that I regrettably went into the save files and deleted Ben. I had intended to preserve the file just out of respect of the game's original owner. It's not like I needed 2 files anyway. Hoping that would solve the problem, it did, and it didn't. Now the NPCs wouldn't call me anything. Where my name should be in the dialogue, there was just blank space. My save file name was still called Link, though. Frustrated with homework to do, I put the game down for a day. The next time he began playing, he noticed weird things were happening in this game that weren't normal. The Elegy of Emptiness statue stalked him, following him wherever he would go in the game. He writes, "Perhaps the most chilling thing was the music. It was the Song of Healing ripped straight from the game itself, but played in reverse. The music would get louder, building up so as if you should expect something to pop out at you. But nothing ever did, and the constant loop began to wear on my mental state. Every now and then I would hear a faint laugh of the happy masked salesman in the background. Just quiet enough so that I wasn't sure if I was really hearing things, but just loud enough to keep me determined to find him. I looked in all 4 zones of Clocktown, only to find nothing. No one. Textures were missing. West Clocktown had me walking on air. The entire area felt broken. Hopelessly broken. As the reverse Song of Healing repeated for what must have been the 50th time, I just remember standing in the middle of South Clocktown, realizing that I had never felt so alone in a video game before. I was standing on top of Clock Tower with Skull Kid hovering over me, silent. I looked up and the moon was back, looming just meters above my head, but the Skull Kid just stared at me hauntingly, with that mask. A new song was playing. The Stone Tower Temple theme played in reverse. In some sort of desperate attempt, I equipped my bow and fired off a shot at the Skull Kid. And it actually hit him, and he played an animation of him reeling back. I fired again, and on the 3rd arrow, a text box appeared saying, "That won't do you any good. Hee hee." I was picked up off the ground, levitated upwards on my back, and then Link screams as he burst into flames, instantly killing him. This happened to Jadeusable 2 different times. The screen faded black, and once it returned, Link was seen lying dead on the floor with text that read, "You've met with a terrible fate, haven't you?" It returned him to the file screen where he discovered his save was replaced with a new one titled, "Your Turn." Opening it brought him back to Link's body lying motionless and returning him to the file screen once again, where Ben's file returned. The next day, Jadeusable went back to the house that he bought the game from to talk to the old man. Instead, he found a for sale sign in the yard with nobody home. Jadeusable asked a neighbor about the old man. He writes, "I asked the neighbor if the old man had any family or relatives I could talk to. I discovered that this old man had never been married, nor did he have any children or grandchildren through adoption. Starting to become worried, I asked one final question. One that I should have asked from the beginning. Who was Ben?" The man's expression turned grim, and I learned that 4 doors down around 8 years ago on April 23rd, the man informed me that it was the same day as his anniversary. That's how he knew the specific date. There was an accident with a young boy named Ben in the neighborhood. Jadeusable went back to his dorm and loaded the game up again. He would eventually end up in a different location along the ocean where Epona was acting in fear, indicating that something was out there. Jadeusable took the character into the ocean only to find the Elegy of Emptiness statue along the ocean floor. Link began to drown. Once the file selection screen loaded, a new file had been added. It was directly under the file name Ben, and it was named Drowned. Jadeusable writes, "The 2 save files told me his fate. As I suspected, Ben was dead. He had drowned. The game obviously isn't through with me. It taunts me with the new save files. It wants me to keep playing. It wants me to go further." Jadeusable at this point realized his original save file had returned. And he plays the Elegy of Emptiness song, and it prompts a text box that reads, "You shouldn't have done that." Jadeusable writes, "My computer just on its own opened up a text document and wrote the words hi and www.cleverbot.com. I went to the website. It's one of those bot chatting programs. I think it's best if I let the conversation speak for itself." Hello? Hello? Who is this, and how are you able to control my computer? Who am I? Right. Forgot. You're a bot. Do you really think that? Listen. I know whoever's screwing with my computer can see my screen right now. Yes. Yeah, and I'll wager that you're one of those IT kids who thinks he's tough. You know what you're doing right now is illegal, right? Is it? Are you familiar with the terms invasion of privacy? Get off my computer, kid. I am your computer. Cool story. Anyway, I'm calling DPS. You picked a bad time to screw with me, kid. Should I wait until you play the game then? What? That game. Majora's Mask? Yes. How did you know about that? I played with you. Who is this? Ben. How? You connected me. How did I connect you? Cables and cords. Ben was able to spread through the videos that Jadeusable shared of his playthroughs. Jadeusable grabbed the cartridge and fled his room. He writes, "I'm typing these closing thoughts on the library computer on campus. Do not download any of my videos or anything about my videos. Through a YouTube video, audio ripper, a screen grab, whatever. I don't know how he can spread, but I know that just watching them on YouTube or reading my text won't be able to allow him to spread. Otherwise, he wouldn't have needed my help in the first place. But I strongly recommend You do not take anything you see streaming online onto your own personal computer." He then said, "I'm going to burn the cartridge and then come back to destroy my laptop. I'm just glad it happened to me, and I could get the warning out so that Ben dies here. Lastly, thank you for taking the time to open this and open yourselves up to me by hearing my story. Despite maybe not believing me, you didn't have to do that. Really, you shouldn't have. Your support this entire time has kept me going, and now I am finally free of this. Thanks again, Jade Usable." Alright guys, that's going to do it for me right here on the Primetime Podcast. I just want to tell you guys, I thank you for your support. This was one of my most requested topics to do on this podcast, and I thank you guys for it. I hope it was good for you, and for those of you who don't know the story, hopefully you know a little bit of it now. And like I said, if it leaves you wanting more, then you can go and get the rest of the story. I gave you the beginning, the middle, and the end, and there's a lot of fillings there that can be filled in between there. A lot of details, a long story. If you got the time, go read it like I did. But that's going to do it, guys. I want to remind you to subscribe to Primetime 21st Gaming on YouTube. Over there, I do live streams on Friday the 13th, mainly Friday the 13th. My subscribers over there love it. I love it, and that's what we do. So subscribe over there. For those of you who are not subscribed to the Primetime Podcast, you can do that through Google Play Music, Google Podcast app, and Podbean. So definitely check me out there. And also, you can get these episodes on my YouTube channel, Primetime 21st Gaming. Some of them are live and with video, and you can actually check out the video versions. There's a few of them over there. Just find the Primetime Podcast playlist, and you can go from there. So thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you in the next podcast.